Good morning, this is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for September 18th around 6 a.m. We have a very active Atlantic basin, so let's get right to it. Here's this morning's view of the Atlantic basin. You can see we have three systems on the map. First of all, we have Hurricane Jose up here between Bermuda and the Outer Banks. Looks like it's weakening a little bit. We have Hurricane Maria strengthening east of the northern Leeward Islands, and then we have this system out here, Lee, that's tropical depression washing out. It's dissipating, so Lee is not a factor. All eyes are on Maria. That's mainly what this update video is going to be about, because this is going to be very bad for the northern Leeward Islands and specifically Cuba and the Virgin Islands, and we'll get to the details on Maria. But it looks like Jose up here is not going to hit the United States. It's going to kind of hang a right-hand turn when it gets up near New England and give them some gusty northeast squalls on the feeder bands of the system. But the big story with Jose is going to be wave action, because whatever happens with Maria, it looks like Maria may actually come up in this area here, and these two systems may interact with each other at some point up in here. So there's going to be a lot of wave action up against the northeast and mid-Atlantic states from these systems. This morning's floater loop of Hurricane Maria shows the system remains well organized, and a hurricane hunter is currently en route to investigate this. I don't know if this will be major when it gets to the northern Leeward Islands. That'll be tonight, but it looks like it could potentially become major at that point as it's crossing through those islands. And the good news, bad news on this is, the good news is it looks like the same islands that were impacted by Hurricane Irma, which were up in here, these islands, and of course, over in here, are not going to be directly impacted. They will get tropical storm force winds, some gusty weather, no doubt about it, but the core will stay south of those islands. However, it's a different story when you look over here towards Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Again, Virgin Islands were heavily hit by Hurricane Irma, and it looks like they're going to get hit again by Hurricane Maria. And again, I'll show you the HurTrack forecast positions in just a minute, but it looks like it's going to be passing very near or over the Virgin Islands and over eastern Puerto Rico. Some of the models want to take it just south of Puerto Rico, so we'll get to the scenarios in just a minute. But I hope the people in Puerto Rico are taking this one much more serious. I mean, if they weren't taking Irma seriously, I don't know what to say, but this one is definitely going to more directly impact you than Irma. So I can't emphasize enough how dangerous this is going to be, especially for the east and southeast facing beaches of Puerto Rico as this moves in on Wednesday. So here's the latest position and the forecast from the National Hurricane Center using the HurTrack, courtesy of PC Weather Products. And you can see our system is approaching right near Dominica and just south of Guadalupe. It looks like I may have to shift the current feature to Dominica. It was Guadalupe, and it looks like the Hurricane Center forecast track has shifted just slightly south because the system has kind of reconsolidated and moved a little bit more further west than what they were anticipating. So it looks like it's going to be tonight that this is going to happen for the northern Leeward Islands. The countdown clock has been activated at Hurricane City for the tropical storm force winds arrival, which will be, in Dominica, the tropical storm force winds will be arriving at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So if you haven't gotten everything done this morning in Dominica, you're out of luck, because it's going to be coming in there pretty fast and furious, and it's going to be, the core will be arriving there tonight around 6 p.m. So between 1 and 6, the conditions are going to be deteriorating, and it's going to be very bad. And then we go forward here. It goes south of Guadalupe, and then again, the islands that were heavily hit by Irma, it looks like they're going to get the tropical storm force wind field on this. But then you look at islands like St. Croix and the Virgin Islands right there. That island was not directly impacted by Irma. They got the southern winds, southwest winds from the backside eye wall, But this is going to be a far different animal. At this point, the winds are 140 miles an hour, closing in on St. Croix. And this is tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. And then it approaches Puerto Rico, right there, the southeast corner of Puerto Rico, at 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning. 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. I have to correct myself. The St. Croix would be on Tuesday morning, not tomorrow morning. Tuesday morning, St. Croix. So you've got time in St. Croix. In fact, if we rewind it here, you've got 2 p.m. tomorrow is when the tropical storm force winds arrive. 2 p.m. tomorrow. So you've got about 24 hours of preparation in St. Croix. And then we have St. Croix getting hit on Wednesday morning. I'm getting my days mixed up. Wednesday morning here. And then we have Puerto Rico Wednesday morning around 10 a.m. It makes landfall. This is a 140-mile-an-hour hurricane. So all of these east-facing beaches are going to get raked. And that would include San Juan. It's only going to pass 18 nautical miles to the south of San Juan. That's as of the 5 a.m. advisory. Of course, this can change at 11 and it can change at 5. But right now, as of 5 a.m., that's the position going directly over Puerto Rico as a Category 4 hurricane, 140-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to be a ferocious hurricane for that island. And then it passes off the northwest coast, just north of Hispaniola, and then heads towards the eastern Bahama Island chain right near the Turks and Caicos Island, which also took a hard hit from Hurricane Irma. At this point, the winds would be 125, and then it passes just north and begins to make the turn that the models are projecting. So that's the indications from NHC. It's going to pass just north of the Bahama Island chain as of their 5 a.m. advisory again, and that is subject to change. People in the Bahamas need to pay very close attention because this track could shift a bit south. It could tangle with Hispaniola, maybe weaken a little bit, take a more of a southerly trajectory. So people in the Bahamas pay very close attention to this. Even an island like Great Anagua that was directly impacted by Hurricane Irma may be impacted by this one. So people pay a close attention in the Bahamas. And here is the forecast positions from the National Hurricane Center on Hurricane Jose. And you can see that it comes up and flirts with the northeastern United States. That yellow circle would indicate tropical storm force winds. Again, as it's inside the aqua circle would be pretty much sustained tropical storm force winds, and the yellow circle would be gust to tropical storm. And it looks like it's going to pass well to the east of Cape Cod and Long Island and these areas by about 150 or so miles. So it's just going to be windy, gusty, blustery weather on the outer bands of what will be Tropical Storm Jose at that time, and then it'll drift off to the south, and then that. So as we always do at Hurricane City, we calculate the best performing models, and these are the aviation ensembles and the operational model. And a couple of the ensembles and the operational take it just northeast of Puerto Rico, and one of the ensembles takes it south to the southwest portion of Puerto Rico before turning north. But the bottom line here is it basically Puerto Rico is in the line of fire, and then it turns north according to these models before it gets to the Bahamas. And it looks like, according to this model, it would not be a threat, at least to Florida. The AP13 model is the best performer out of this group, only off by about 24 nautical miles at 3 days, so that's not bad. Here are all of the Euro ensemble members. There's 50 different runs of the European model, and all of these take it pretty much a bouquet of flowers right over, I know that might be the wrong choice of words here, but right over Puerto Rico for the most part, right over the north coast of Hispaniola into the East Bahamas, and then there's a turn to the north towards the end there. So, again, the European is a little bit left of the aviation ensemble models, and here we go again. It's the difference between the European and the GFS, which is going to end up being right. And usually 9 times out of 10, the European gets it right on the track. So people in the Bahamas, I'm telling you, don't take your eye off this one. This could be Central East Bahamas hurricane. And would anybody argue that there's really only three models that we need to pay attention to when it comes to track of these things? It's the European, the GFS, and the UK Met model. And the UK Met model, I emphasize this on Hurricane Irma to pay very close attention to that model because it performs well with intense systems, and it did predict that Irma was going to hit the north coast of Cuba before hitting Florida. The UK Met is the furthest east of this group, and it takes it east of the Bahamas. So the National Hurricane Center's got their hands full on the future track of this system as far as how much of the Bahamas are going to be impacted by this. UK Met would be a great solution for the Bahamas, and the European would be the worst solution for the Bahamas. And, of course, the aviation and UK Met would be better for Puerto Rico as well, and the Euro would be terrible for Puerto Rico. So European, again, always the best, but the other models are kind of east of there, so let's see what happens. And here we are at Tropical Tidbits Models looking at the European, and let's go ahead and put this in motion. Again, Jose comes close to the New England area, turns away, heads to the south, and then here comes Maria. Let me go back. They take it through the eastern Bahama Island chain and then north, and kind of doing a little Fujiwara with Jose up here, which slings Jose into the mid-Atlantic coast as a very weak system, and the dominating system would be Maria, moving northeast between Bermuda and the U.S. without hitting any land in the United States. That's the indications from last night's Euro. We'll see how that changes today, but East Bahamas and then north without impacting the United States. And here are the population centers of the islands that are going to be impacted here this evening. Dominica, 72,000 people roughly, and in Guadalupe, 403,000. So obviously Guadalupe is far more populated than Dominica. Of course, it's a larger island, and it's a French island of Guadalupe, and the potential losses here are going to be tremendous. We have obvious from tourism. The crops are going to be seriously affected by this. Guadalupe specializes in sugarcane and bananas, and bananas are just going to get flattened by winds like this, so that's going to be a huge loss over there. And in Dominica, we have fruits, coconuts, vegetables. So basically farming is going to be the most affected along with tourism for these two islands. And we just hope everybody's ready in these two islands. In fact, last time Dominica was affected was last year. Matthew came passing through there as a tropical storm south of here. So they're going to be in for a lot more than what they got with Matthew from last year. Quick programming note, tonight I will be live 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, awaiting the 11 p.m. advisory on Hurricane Maria as it approaches the northern Leeward Islands. We'll be live till 11 p.m. tonight on hurricanecity.tv and on our Facebook channel. To click the logos on the front page of Hurricane City. And then we'll be live each night as this approaches Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Well, that's it for now. I'll be back hopefully with another update video tomorrow on my very hectic schedule. I thank you for your time. I'm Jim Williams. Thank you for watching.